Cancer, welcome to your astrology reading for the month of August. So before I jump into the actual energy and how this is going to impact you, this is going to be most applicable for your rising sign, which is how other people perceive you, especially when they first meet you. It's still applicable for your sun sign and your moon sign. So your sun sign is how you express yourself to other people, and your moon sign is how you process everything internally, so through that emotional lens. So kind of jumping into the energy of the month, we actually have Mercury stationing retrograde this month. We're already in the pre-shadow. That started on July 16th. So even as I'm recording this, we're already in the energy. It's just kind of building for right now. And it joins, so Mercury will join this laundry list of planets that are already retrograde. So we have Pluto that's already retrograde in Aquarius, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, Chiron in Aries, although Chiron's an asteroid, and then we add Mercury into the mix. So what this means is that whatever energy they normally kind of put out there, it's now all reflected in. And so you'll see pretty early on in the month, we'll have Mercury station retrograde, but kicking off the month, we'll have the new moon in the sign of Leo. So that's going to happen on the 4th at 7:13 in the morning Eastern time. And so when this happens, you have the sun and the moon, they're at the same degree point in the sky. So the energy just completely blends together. And so the sun, how you're expressing yourself, the moon, all about your emotions. And so this blending of expressing how you feel about things, highlighting the energy around how you feel about something. And so for you, this is impacting your second house. Your second house is your personal finances. It's what you value. And so with this, there's a lot of expression around what it is that you value. How does that make you feel? That kind of energy. During this new moon, we'll have lots of conversations happening with planets, but there's Mars and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. And what this new moon is doing is it's really highlighting these two planets specifically. For you, Mars and Jupiter are both sitting in your 12th house. Your 12th house is your subconscious. And so during this new moon, there's an opportunity to take some sort of informed action. So this could be maybe learning something new about yourself, maybe making some sort of changes here, growing. So whatever it is that you're learning about yourself, Jupiter in Gemini internally wants you to kind of grow and expand who you are, kind of step out of your comfort zone a little bit, maybe see the truth of the situation, maybe understand things from that different high level perspective. And so when you focus on what you value and express what you value here and how it makes you feel, it's creating additional opportunities within you to grow and expand who you are. This new moon will also trine the North Node in Aries. And so the North Node is fated action. So this is what we're supposed to be doing. It is things that are fated, destined. So whatever terminology you want to use, there's some sort of action that's going to happen here in your career sector. And so when it comes to expressing how you feel about what you value, maybe the money that you have, or it could be really anything that kind of falls into this. These would be maybe possessions that you have, or just in general, where you place your value. It is aligning here. It's an easy flowing energy, aligning with the action that's happening within your career sector or public reputation, because that's also part of that 10th house energy. The same day that we have the new moon in the sign of Leo, we actually have Venus enter the sign of Virgo. And so that's going to happen a little bit later in the day at 10:23 in the evening Eastern time. And so when this happens, we'll have Venus in the sign of Virgo conjunct Mercury in the sign of Virgo, because that's where Mercury is right now. Hold that thought because it will slide back into Leo, but we'll get there. And so when Venus and Mercury are having a conversation in the sign of Virgo, so Virgo is a healing energy. It's definitely an analytical, let me go inside, think things through, really kind of get into the depths of it here. And so it's all with the intent to heal. And so with Mercury in the mix, there's a lot of communication, maybe processing information. Venus, focused on what you value, maybe bringing things together. And so it's all sitting in your 3rd house of communication. So what this indicates is that there might be a lot of healing conversations, bringing people together, kind of getting people on the same page, talking things through, really trying to kind of mend some relationship here, because it's a communication. So it could be internal communications. It's not showing up that way, but definitely could still happen there, because with that Mercury in Virgo, you might be internally processing what do you need to do in order to heal these relationships, as opposed to putting it on somebody else. When Venus enters Virgo, it's also going to trine Chiron in Aries. And so what this means is these healing conversations, kind of mending things, bringing people together, it's going to help heal any kind of wounds that you have in your career sector. So if there's something around maybe not feeling worthy in your career, or maybe feeling like something is just unattainable for some sort of reason. There's something happening within your relationships, within these conversations, that kind of helps you heal that wound that's been coming to the surface. This is not a new wound. This would be something that's probably been coming up over the last several months. Thinking back specifically to when we had the eclipse in the sign of Aries back in April. And so that was probably something where it became a lot more front and center, much more known. It would be something around whatever wounds started surfacing at that time. And then we'll have Venus in Virgo square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so what this means is those healing conversations, bringing things together, really focused on what you value and kind of really using that as the lens. It's creating obstacles or challenges within your community. So there's changes happening there that this doesn't seem to be in some sort of alignment with. And so it's a square energy, so it is a challenge, but it is something that you can work through. It's something that just does require some effort here. You're actually going to see that energy pop up several times throughout the month, and then towards the end of the month, it'll get easier. And then the next day, well, actually it's a couple hours later, so we'll have Mercury station retrograde in the sign of Virgo. So that's going to happen on the 5th at 12:56 in the morning Eastern time. And so it's still conjunct Venus in the sign of Virgo, but now Mercury, instead of being outspoken, putting all of your communication and energy outward, there's a lot of internal reflection taking place here. And so what is it from your perspective that you need to work on and maybe heal within you to help heal relationships externally? What kind of conversations are taking place? What is your perception of things here? What do you need to do to work on this? This Mercury retrograde will also square Mars in Gemini. That's sitting in your 12th house. And so again, kind of that subconscious house, the pieces of you that are really kept away from the public eye. When you kind of think about what it is that you need to do to heal or to kind of come together and bring things together, it's creating obstacles or challenges to the changes that you think you need to make internally, or some sort of, because Gemini is all about getting down into the nitty gritty. Let's get all the details. And so Mars wants to take action based on all those details, but there might be a bigger picture piece that's missing here because Gemini is in the details. And so there might be something here that's just creating obstacles or challenges for you to take some sort of action on the inside here. It's also going to create some sort of challenge when it comes to changes happening within your community. So that energy that we just saw a couple hours before, it's showing up here again. And so this internal reflection on what you need to do, what you need to heal, it's still creating some sort of obstacle or challenge to whatever changes are already taking place within your community. And I'm just going to highlight it here. We have Lionsgate. So Lionsgate happens every year. It's 8/8 is kind of that peak moment. I'll do a separate video on that topic. This is an 8 year, so 2024, when you add up the numbers, it's 8. 8 is the symbol of infinity. So there's a lot happening here. There's an astrology component, there's a tarot component because of the overlap there. So I'll probably just do this as a daily read because it's also in the middle of the week. And so I'm just going to kind of glance over it for now, but just wanted to highlight that here. So we just talked about Mercury stationing retrograde on the 5th. On the 14th, because it's retrograde and now it's moving back into the sign of Leo. And so during this time, so it's going to happen on the 14th at 8:16 p.m. So when it was in Virgo, there was a lot of emphasis on focusing on what you needed to heal, maybe having some sort of internal dialogue around that. When it comes to the sign of Leo, Leo is very bold, charismatic, very creative. And so now if you think about what kind of energy are you going to add into this mix, because it's not like you're forgetting those Virgo energies, it's now you're incorporating the Leo piece of it too. So what kind of bold action do you want to take? What kind of conversations are you having internally with yourself? How does what you value play into this? Because Mercury, when it's in the sign of Leo, is sitting in your second house of personal finances, things that you value. And it's also going to be conjunct the sun. And so you're going to want to express what you value and also kind of understand the implications. And then when you factor in that you've been kind of, for the last roughly 10 days, thinking through, well, what do I need to do to heal? So it's all coming together. It's all kind of blending and kind of informing your decisions go forward. When Mercury is in the sign of Leo in the retrograde, it will trine the moon in Sagittarius. And so that big picture conversation comes right back into the mix. So Sagittarius is the opposite sign of Gemini. Gemini likes details. Sagittarius likes big picture. Both like to get to the truth of the situation. Sagittarius is growth and expansion, but it's understanding kind of that high level perspective on things. And so when you're really focused here on what you value and kind of internally processing everything that way, it's easily blending with how you feel about seeing the big picture of your daily life, because that's where Sagittarius impacts you. It impacts your daily routine. And your daily routine, meaning the things you do on a regular basis, it's not just your Monday through Friday routine. It is more than that. It's the things that you do just habitually. Mercury in retrograde will also trine Chiron in Aries. And so really kind of thinking about what you value, understanding the impact of how that affects you in all areas of your life, it's actually going to easily blend with whatever actions you're taking to heal some sort of wound in your career sector. So it could be your career, public reputation, both are embodied within that 10th house. We'll also have Mercury square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so again, coming back to those changes happening within your community, when you think about and you kind of focus on what you value here, maybe expressing yourself through what you value or understanding the impact of expressing yourself that way, it's creating challenges to the changes that are already happening within your community. And then on the 19th, we'll have the full moon in the sign of Aquarius. So that's going to happen at 2:26 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so when that happens, you have the sun and you have the moon, and they're at opposite points in the sky. And so it's this push-pull energy. Definitely something that you can work with. It does require more effort because one side always wants to kind of, it's that tug of war. It always wants to pull a little bit harder than the other. So you just have to find that happy medium. For you, the energy is sitting in your second house and your eighth house. Second house is your personal finances. It's the things that you value. Eighth house is earned income, other people's money. So this could be debt, mortgages, credit cards, all of those types of things, inheritance, your spouse's income. And so you can kind of see the money you already have versus the money that's coming in and maybe where that push-pull is. There's also within that eighth house, it's the house of death and rebirth. So any kind of transformation, any kind of changes that are taking place. This could be around intimacy wounds, power and control issues. There's a lot that takes place within that eighth house. And within your second house, it's like, I want to hold on to everything that I have. And the eighth house is like, well, I think you need to modify some of this. And so that's where that energy is coming from. So we've got the sun. So expressing yourself around what you value or maybe through what you value versus how you feel about breaking down barriers, changing something here with that Aquarius and eighth house energy. During the full moon, so just like the new moon, the planets will all talk to each other, but the sun and the moon here, because they're at opposite points in the sky, they're going to have conversations, but slightly different conversations with the planets. And so the sun will conjunct Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. And so expressing yourself, expressing how you feel about what it is that you value, just all of that, understanding the impact of expressing what you value or anything along those lines. Maybe it is your personal finances that you're expressing, having conversations around. That's going to easily blend. But the moon in Aquarius is going to be opposite that energy. So this is where that push-pull comes into effect again. And so when it comes to how you feel about maybe changes that are taking place in the money that you earn or any kind of transformation that might be happening inside of you, releasing some sort of power and control issues, because again, this is death and rebirth all within that house, it's going to be opposite how you feel about what you have. So there's something about maybe you've held on to something here and it created this like security blanket for yourself, and you're being encouraged to kind of break free or loosen it up a little bit here, because that would be that push-pull energy that's happening here. We'll have the sun. So this one's actually going to be positive for both the sun and the moon. So they're both going to have a positive relationship to the Chiron and Aries energy. So that wound that's been coming to the surface as it relates to your career. The sun, so expressing what you value about your personal finances, things like that, it's going to easily blend with whatever action you're taking to heal that wound in your career or public reputation. Now the moon, so this is that transformation. This is maybe loosening up that security blanket a little bit, letting some of these changes take effect. It's going to create an opportunity for even more action to happen in your career sector to heal that wound that's come to the surface. And then we'll have the sun and moon. They'll actually both square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so again, just these changes that are happening in your community. This full moon in Aquarius, so both the sun and the moon are going to create challenges in slightly different ways. So expressing what you value is going to create challenges because maybe there's something here that's at odds with the changes that are taking place within your community versus you know that you're going through some sort of transformation. This is some sort of liberating transformation. How do you feel about that? It's also creating challenges to these changes that are taking place, because what's happening here with this full moon is there's a lot happening to you personally, but there might be changes happening in this community that are outside of you that you just don't have any control over. And so that would be that Uranus and Taurus energy. And then we'll have the moon have conversations with both Mars and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. And so Gemini, again, your 12th house, this is your subconscious. And so these liberating changes that are taking place, how you feel about this transformation that you're going through, what it's doing here is it's going to easily flow with whatever changes that you want to happen internally that are really meant for your personal growth. That's what that Jupiter is all about. It wants you to grow and expand and think differently, think outside the box, big picture. The Mars energy wants you to take some sort of action here. And so whatever transformation is happening, it is positive. There is growth connected to it, because this is an easy blend of energy. This isn't something that you're going to have to work towards at all. And then on the 22nd, we'll have the sun enter the sign of Virgo. So that's going to happen at 10:55 in the morning Eastern time. And so when the sun enters Virgo, it's actually still conjunct Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is now in the sign of Leo. And so they're in different houses, they're in different signs. So the conversation is modifying here. So the sun in Virgo is sitting in your 3rd house. Virgo is that healing energy. There's a lot of internal kind of, I'm looking at my tarot. So like when you think of the Hermit card, that is the card of Virgo. So there's this need to kind of go inside, really think things through, maybe think and process and heal from that. And so with the sun in Virgo, it's almost like you're expressing this because it's sitting in your 3rd house. So there's a lot of communication taking place, a lot of maybe expressing your inner self, maybe things that you're going through, this transformation that's taking place. It's going to conjunct Mercury retrograde in the sign of Leo. So how are you processing all of this? How is it impacting you? How's it impacting your personal finances or the things that you value? What's happening here? Just kind of what is that net effect? The sun in Virgo will also trine Chiron in Aries. And so what this means is when you're expressing that inner part of yourself, that maybe those things that you're just not used to expressing, maybe some sort of healing that you're going through, it's going to easily blend with whatever action you're taking to heal that career wound. So the conversations, the healing conversations that you have, that healing expression of yourself is helping to heal this wound as well. So if something needs to come out, comes to the surface here. And just like we've been seeing, expressing kind of that innermost part of yourself, it's going to create obstacles and challenges to those changes that are already taking place within your community. So your community, your group of friends, things like that. And so again, energy you can work with. It's just going to require effort on your part. Then we have Mercury station direct. So that finally happens at the end of the month, but we're still in the post shadow in September. I didn't write the exact date down and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So when Mercury stations direct, it's going to happen on the 28th at 5:14 in the afternoon Eastern time. And so all of that internal reflection, again, now it becomes external communication. Mercury in Leo will be in your 2nd house. So when it comes to expressing yourself through your personal finances, maybe it's the way that you spend money, or it could be something around what you value. I always go back to art collection as something like that because people take pride in some of the things that they collect, and that would be a way of expressing yourself. That's also a very Leo energy. Leo is a very creative energy, and so there could be some sort of creative expression that's taking place. Regardless, when Mercury stations direct, it's going to blend with whatever healing that you're trying to do to that wound in your career or public reputation. So it is helping you in that sense. It's helping to heal from that wound. And then Mercury in Leo is going to sextile both Mars and Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. And so again, when you think about your subconscious, any kind of action that you want to take, anything meant for your personal growth, this Mercury in Leo is going to create an opportunity. So expressing yourself, so maybe some sort of creative expression around what you value, or using things that you value like your art or something along those lines. It's creating an opportunity for you to take some sort of internal action on yourself that is meant to grow and expand you as a person. Mercury in Leo will also then square Uranus in the sign of Taurus. And so just like we've been seeing in pretty much every single one of these placements in one of these kind of major astrological events during the month of August, there's just obstacles and challenges to whatever changes are taking place within your community. And so expressing yourself through your personal finances or the things that you value or something along those lines, again, creating challenges to those changes that are happening. And then on the 29th at 9:23 in the morning Eastern time, we have Venus enter the sign of Libra. So Venus actually rules two different signs. It rules Taurus and it rules Libra. Libra is all about balance. Taurus is all about the things that you value. Venus likes to bring things together. So Venus is looking for that harmony. It wants to kind of bring things together, focus here on the most important things, really highlighting that. It's the Empress in Tarot. And so when Venus enters the sign of Libra, it's going to trine that Uranus and Taurus energy. So when you think about all of those challenges that we've been talking about all throughout the month of August, now what happens when Venus enters into this mix, there's some sort of balance that's being restored to your home environment. This Venus and Libra energy is sitting in your fourth house of home, and it's going to easily blend with whatever changes are taking place within your community. So here's where you start to see some alignment happening with those changes that feel like they're happening external to you, but they're happening regardless. So that's really positive there. Venus and Libra. So again, thinking about balancing your home life, figuring out just kind of that harmony at home. It's going to also easily blend with whatever changes are taking place inside you. This is Pluto retrograde in Aquarius sitting in your 8th house. And so balancing your home life, it's going to easily blend with whatever changes have been taking place. That 8th house is the house of transformation. This Pluto retrograde indicates an internal change. Pluto is a pretty significant planet. So this one, I mean, it's not to be taken lightly here because there is this death and rebirth connected to it. And with Aquarius, it's a liberating type of change. And so it's meant to break down barriers. It's meant to almost, if you felt like you've been stuck in this like really rigid pattern of behavior, Aquarius wants to break you free from that. And Pluto retrograde, it's about these internal barriers, internal restrictions that you would have placed. And so there's something about balancing your home environment and really kind of putting harmony there that kind of aids in this transformation, helps to break down these internal barriers. Venus in Libra will square Mars in Gemini. And so balancing your home life, it's now creating challenges to that internal action that you want to take because that Mars in Gemini is in your house of your subconscious. All things hidden here. And so again, it's a square. You can work through it. It just requires effort on your part. And then we have Venus and Libra opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so what this means is feeling balanced in your home environment. It is just kind of like what we saw with the new moon, full moon, or I'm sorry, with the full moon, with the sun and the moon there. This Venus and Libra energy is opposite Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And so 4th house, 9th house for you, just the way that this is playing out in your chart. Finding that harmony at home, that balance that you've been looking for, it is opposite to whatever it is that you need to grow or expand. So the Neptune in Pisces is sitting in your 9th house. 9th house is all about growth, expansion, seeing the truth of the situation, that really that high level perspective. Think of it as like Sagittarius type of energy. And so Pisces and Neptune are really all about your dreams, your goals. So these would be maybe just like kind of fantasies. They can kind of go to that realm. But with Neptune retrograde, they're no longer a fantasy. You're starting to see what is real, what is not real. The veil is being lifted here. You're able to see the truth of the situation. And so bringing some sort of harmony and balance into your home life is opposite seeing the truth of the situation. Maybe there was something that you thought you wanted in order to grow, and now you're seeing it differently, or you need to see it differently because this is that push-pull energy where you're almost being forced to see things from a different perspective here. So Cancer, that is your reading for the month of August. I hope it resonates. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Take care.